today. I just finished that interview with the man in America. It was a great interview. He said he should have it done by tonight, but very interesting. Talking. I really like him. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so um, let's get started. We're on chapter 4, and I love the name of this chapter: Juan Guaido, Imperial Incubator Baby. And there's probably no better description once you understand the background here. So let's get started. Throughout February 2019, international media were completely captivated by the made for TV drama playing out on the Colombian Venezuela border. In the Colombian town of Cucuta, a caravan of tractor trailers packed with cardboard boxes displaying USAID logo, ready for a provocative incursion into Venezuela territory. On the other side, Venezuela's government constructed physical blockades and deployed National Guard troops to secure their border. February 12th, on a boulevard in eastern Caracas, affluent district, a crowd of Venezuelans who yearned for a U.S. invasion of their country gathered to cheer on the envoy. They comprised a sea of white, while white is the U.S.-backed opposition unifying color in Venezuela. So I guess in a color revolution, that was going to be the white one. Whenever they hold rallies, attendees sport white t-shirts, white visors, and yes, typically much fairer in appearance than the mostly blackish brown Venezuelans that you would meet at a pro-government demonstration. There is a racial divide in Venezuela, and it's far more pronounced along class lines than in the US, with wealthier pro-opposition supporters almost universally tracing their heritage back to Spain or Italy. The elite area of Caracas appeared to have wandered off the country club or a city street, clad in polo shirts and well-styled hair. As we filmed the introduction, a sturdy man wearing a Ralph Lauren button-down shirt took up position behind Anya's partner, Max, carefully listening to every word of his stand-up while waving a massive Venezuelan flag. "We are in a lot of need," the man's wife said. Max asked him, "Are you hungry?" And she said, "Yes." "What would you eat?" "Well, anything that I have in my house," she replied. Realizing her plea for humanitarian intervention was losing legitimacy, she quickly added, "But I have to work all day long and then go out and try to find something to buy." Max asked her, "And the prices are too high?" "Oh, they're very, very high. A bunch of kale cost me 6,000 bolivars, $2. It felt as though we were victims of a prank. One by one, well dolled up, designer wearing sunglass people. It was very clear they were accustomed to foreign reporters slobbering all over them. "We don't have medicine," they said. "We don't have food. We don't have anything," a heavy-set, well-dolled-up woman said, who didn't look at all like she had missed a meal. Another implored us to look at the size of her pants, explaining that she had shed so much weight. But if there was starvation in Venezuela, this crowd was not afflicted by it. These were not the country's poor. Most revealing of all, these people openly begged Washington to intensify the siege on their country. One man held 100 Bolivar bill in front of our cameras and griped about inflation before announcing that he not only supported U.S. sanctions on his country, but believed that they were too weak. The woman who claimed her pants didn't fit her anymore wished to skip the tired foreplay of financial war games altogether, informing us that Venezuela's National Assembly had the right to authorize a foreign military mission into their country. In other words, according to Venezuela's radical opposition, Washington's hybrid assault had exacted insufficient adversity on their fellow countrymen. Only direct military intervention funded by the US would do. So I'm going to say this again. You guys may remember I told you when my husband and I went with my girlfriend to Venezuela for her 50th birthday that I had a younger middle-aged guy standing in front of us at one of the places that we were visiting. And when he found out we were Americans, my husband said something about Ellen and I being in the military, and he turned right around and he said, "You need to come kill our president." And I kind of chuckled and I said, "You're a grown-ass man. If you want your president killed, kill him yourself. We don't do that shit." Not realizing that we actually did, but I couldn't believe that somebody said that out loud, but he did. So I believe everything that's going on in this book so far. The possibility that their fantasy of endless war and kale salad would soon be reality in Venezuela seemed more likely by the rally's conclusion, when Guaido addressed the crowd from the main stage, framed with a banner reading Aundai Humanitaria. He revealed that he would travel to Colombia and participate in the U.S. military effort to cross the Venezuelan border on February 23rd. Considering Caracas had placed Guaido under an international travel ban at the start of his coup attempt, the announcement added yet another level of provocation. This humanitarian aid is getting in no matter what, he said. Guaido was enjoying a meteoric political rise. In just a matter of days, he had transformed from an anonymous lawmaker into the quote-unquote president of Venezuela. In the eyes of Washington and its allies in foreign capitals and the international media, just a few weeks prior, many Venezuelans had no idea who he was. In the weeks prior to switching our recognition, hold on a second. Oh, this is Mike Pompeo. In the weeks prior to switching our recognition, about half of the parties of the National Assembly didn't recognize Guaido as the country's legitimate leader, said Mike Pompeo in his memoir. Thankfully, our capable diplomat, Ambassador James Story, worked magic to help line them up behind Guaido. You know, not like it's election interference or anything. The Venezuelan journalist, Diego Sequeira, told the Gray Zone at the time the U.S. preferred Guaido over the recognizable opposition figures because he was a common mestizo, features like most Venezuelans do, and seems more like a man of the people. Indeed, unlike his colleagues, who largely hailed from oligarch families with European lineage, Guaido had emerged from a middle-class family with his father an airline pilot and his mother a school teacher. Kind of their Barack Obama version, like right down to being produced by the CIA. Beyond the prism of race and class, however, Guaido shared important characteristics with his opposition cohorts. Like virtually all of his political party officials, President Guaido, in air quotes, was a carefully crafted product of the university's government organizations, and covert intelligence networks that form Washington's elite. Back in 2007, Guaido was concluding his university studies, and Chavismo had established itself as a political juggernaut in Venezuela and the surrounding region. Progressive governments allied with Chavez had cropped up in Bolivia, Argentina, and beyond. Venezuela's economy was booming. After almost 10 years of revolution, Chavismo appeared unstoppable. That summer, Chavez introduced a ballot referendum to enshrine his vision called 21st Century Socialism in Venezuela's constitution and scheduled a vote for December 2nd. The initiative proposed reforms, including a reduction in the work week from 44 hours to 36, the abolition of presidential term limits, and official declaration that Venezuela was a socialist nation. The opposition's rare triumph over Chavismo had not been delivered by the existing party or prominent political detractors, but by a group of previously unknown student activists. They were labeled, they called themselves Generation 2007. The students first tested their organizing skills in March of that year when they launched nationwide campus protests against the government for its failure to renew a broadcasting license for Radio Caracas television. It was a corporate network that had actively supported the US-backed military coup, which temporarily removed Chavez from power in 2002. While those demonstrations ultimately died down, they reunited in the weeks leading up to the December 2nd constitutional referendum. This time, however, the students took their campaign off campus to the streets. Throughout November, the students transformed university grounds into bases of operation. The situation escalated after masked gunmen opened fire on a student gathering on November 8th. Though no one was killed, the incident contributed to a sense of popular turmoil surrounding the vote. Sounds like Ukraine to me. Some here say they feel that the situation is as tense as 2002, said a journalist, Fred Fuentes, which was part of the US-directed military coup. Weeks later, on November 28th, opposition rioters shot and killed a Chavista in the city of Valencia. During street protests billed as March of No Return. 4 days later, voters rejected Chavez's ballot initiative by a narrow 2% margin. Having delivered Chavismo's first defeat at the ballot box since its inception 10 years earlier, the students behind the anarchic street demonstrations were credited with the success. Yet while Generation 2007 appeared to be a quote-unquote spontaneous revolt, the U.S. government had been quietly molding Venezuela's student population into a formidable force. In February 2012, the international media group WikiLeaks began publishing the Global Intelligence Files, a cache of over 5 million internal emails from the Austin-based firm called Stratfor Marketing, itself a shadow CIA to its bevy of corporate and government clients, including Bank of America, Dow Chemical, Lockheed. Stratfor specializes in intelligence gathering and global risk assessment. While much of the initial reporting on the leaks concerned revelations about the Department of Homeland Security and that they had contracted with Stratfor to spy on Occupy Wall Street demonstrations, that swept the U.S. following the 2008 financial crash. The WikiLeaks archive has since provided journalists with an infinite bounty of primary source material exposing the inner workings of Washington and their global intelligence. Among the file's most significant contributions to the public record was the window they offered into the center of applied nonviolent action and strategies, or called Canvas, a self-described network of international trainers and consultants with expertise building and running successful nonviolent movements. Canvas was at the forefront of several international regime change operations launched throughout the 2000s. A 2007 Stratfor report touted the group's success in fomenting color revolutions that befell a number of Eastern Europe and Central Asian states, namely those in Georgia, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, and Belarus. Though their campaigns did not always achieve regime change, Stratfor declared that Canvas' ability to mobilize and unite desperate factions of a targeted country was among the best on the planet. Though Canvas billed itself as a non-governmental organization, the Stratfor leaks revealed that the group relied heavily on funding from the State Department and USAID, which basically means the CIA. And then, as I read yesterday, according to Stratfor, Canvas top allies were Freedom House and the Albert Einstein Institute, two of the US-funded entities that effectively serve as money washed for the State Department and USAID. Canvas' reliance on grants from US-backed organizations like Freedom House, rather than direct support from the US government itself, enabled it to claim that it was independent. Considering Canvas' pro-democracy campaign, and I'm putting that in air quotes, universally targeted designated enemies of the US government, such were targeted. Yet the group's own history provided additional evidence that its function was an extension of the US regime change operations. Canvas was the official outgrowth of OTPOR, OTPOR, which translates into resistance, a student group that directed the mass street protests in Serbia against Milosevic. And we've already talked all about that. Within weeks of his removal, the New York Times published a blockbuster report, Who Really Brought Down Milosevic, that extensively documented how US-funded organizations, specifically the National Endowment for Democracy and its International Republican Institute, poured millions of dollars into the overthrow of the Serbian government. OTPOR was certainly the largest recipient, a former NED official divulged to the Times, explaining his group spent nearly $3 million on the campaign to overthrow Milosevic between 1998 and 2000. And by IRI, we mean John McCain. John McCain was the chairperson and approved all of that, just like he approved the money for overthrowing Ukraine in 2004 and again in 2014. Formed in 1983, NED represented a Reagan-era initiative to outsource covert U.S. regime change beyond the traditional and controversial use of the CIA. As NED's co-founder, Alan Weinstein, once famously confessed to the Washington Post, a lot of what we do was done covertly 25 years ago by the CIA. In the aftermath of Milosevic's overthrow, OTPOR faded into the background of Serbian politics and eventually incorporated itself into a national party. Its former student leaders, however, were destined for greater horizons beyond Serbia. After they toppled Milosevic, the kids who ran OTPOR grew up, got suits, and designed Canvas. Stratfor's analyst, Marko Papic, remarked in February of 2010 email characterizing the organization as an exporter revolutionary group that sowed seeds of color revolutions. They are still hooked into US funding and basically go around the world toppling governments that are identified for regime change. Indeed, after applying their Serbian blueprint to stimulate a color revolution in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, OPPOR founders, I'm going to butcher this name too, Sirda Popovic and Slobodan Denovic, formally established Canvas in 2005, officially taking their model for disguising clandestine US-backed protest campaigns as organic, popular revolts to the international level. As Canvas executive director, Popovic was tasked with overseeing the organization's training program from the Philippines to Belarus and Iran. In 2013, investigation by Occupy Wall Street media offshoot revealed just how seriously Popovic took his job as an international regime change agent. By 2007, the Canvas chief had successfully leveraged his international connections to basically become private intelligence. Based on the review of the Stratfor leaks, journalists Carl Gibson and Steve Horn explained that Popovic passed information to intelligence firms about on-the-ground activist events in countries around the world. The report chronicled how, following the 2007 speaking engagement at Stratfor, Popovic began providing its employees with actionable intelligence on Canvas global operations, even transmitting his private communications with foreign activists to the firm. Popovic passed on the information to Stratfor without consent of any of the activists and likely without the activists ever knowing. Stratfor was so grateful for Popovic's cooperation that it eventually his wife, Marija, and a whole long last name, for a part-time job. The Canvas guy is a close friend / source, Stratfor's vice president of analysis stressed in a March 2010 email discussing the soon-to-be wife employment, noting that Popovic recommended her for a job while failing to disclose she was dating the Canvas executive. The following year, the Lovebirds invited a handful of their employees to their Belgrade wedding, a ceremony that Popovic promised would be followed by a serious rock party. A significant portion of Popovic's collaboration with Stratfor concerned covert U.S. operations in Venezuela, a top interest of Canvas ever since 2005's foundation. On October 5th, 2 days before the 5th anniversary of Milosevic's ouster, Canvas convened a conference in Serbia's capital to train the next generation of international U.S.-backed regime change operatives. Among the foreign activists who came to Belgrade for their Color Revolution crash course were 5 Venezuelan university students. The disclosure emerged in an October 2007 Stratfor assessment that confidentially announced another color revolution was forming in Latin America. Student movements are only at the beginning of what could be a very long effort to trigger revolution in Venezuela, it declared, crediting Canvas for inciting the unrest. When you see students at 5 Venezuelan universities hold simultaneous demonstrations, you will know that the training is over and the real work has begun, Stratfor said. Within weeks of Stratfor's report, Generation 2007 was born. Having completed his undergraduate study that year, Guaido threw himself into the US-sponsored Generation 2007. 2 years later, he and his cohort co-founder Leopoldo Lopez, that's the guy we came across a couple of chapters back, that was both part of the Validad Popular Party. So they are basically CIA assets in Venezuela, having been trained in regime change under the label of Generation 2007. And they formed a political party, just like the political warfare cadre academy in Taiwan taught all of these people to do. The opposition bloc was at the forefront of violent riots that swept Venezuela following Chavez's death. By January 2019, the people involved in Generation 2007 had matured from youthful student activists to leading representatives of Guaido's US-backed regime change attempt. Within weeks of their ascent, Canvas's work in Venezuela would become more relevant than ever. At around 5 p.m. on March 7, 2019, as millions of Venezuela concluded their workday, commuter trains nationwide suddenly came to a halt. Red, yellow, and green traffic lights faded to brown. Television screens went black. Cell phones service went out. Houses were put in the dark. The blackout swept up the majority of Venezuelan territory, devouring schools, hospitals, and airports. Venezuelan officials eventually traced the outage to a dam. It was home to their hydroelectric plant that produced between 70 and 80% of the country's power. According to Caracas, foreign actors had targeted the hydroelectric plant located in one of the largest reservoirs on Earth with a cybernetic attack. Oddly, the debilitating blackout struck just hours after Florida Senator Marco Rubio issued Caracas an ominous warning. Quote, Venezuela is going to enter a period of suffering no nation in our hemisphere has confronted in modern history, unquote. Rubio said that before a Senate Foreign Relations Subcommittee hearing on Venezuela that featured Elliot Abrams, the criminal, and USAID administrator / CIA asset, Mark Green. Within minutes of Venezuela's subsequent power outage, Rubio reported the news on Twitter. Quote, 18 of 23 states and the capital district are currently facing complete blackouts, the senator tweeted. Main airport also without power and backup generators have failed, unquote. The mysterious timing of Senator Rubio's forecast of suffering in the country and its loss of power was suspect. In a televised address, government spokesman Jorge Rodriguez charged Washington with conducting the attack on his country, describing Rubio and Secretary Pompeo as psychopaths for overseeing the plot. Rodriguez asserted that even his own government was unaware that the backup generators had failed at the time Marco Rubio announced that they had failed. So how did he know it? How had the Florida senator secured accurate information about the outage before Venezuelans' own government? The charge that Washington was capable of and willing to execute such a monumental attack of industrial espionage was not unreasonable. In fact, tech analyst Caleb Leotaru argued that the allegation was quite realistic. Remote cyber operations rarely require a significant ground presence, making them ideal for deniability. He went on to say, given the U.S. government's longstanding concern with Venezuela's government, and it's likely that the U.S. already maintains a deep presence within the country's national infrastructure, making it relatively straightforward to interfere. The U.S. officials eventually confessed their ability to conduct such large scale industrial terrorism themselves. In June of 2019, the New York Times reported Washington had increased remote cyber attacks on Russia's electrical grid in a warning to President Vladimir Putin. Based on the conversation with a senior intelligence source, the Times declared Washington's digital incursion in Moscow's electrical infrastructure was a demonstration of how the Trump administration is using new authority to deploy cyber tools. Evidence of Washington's involvement in the Venezuela blackout was not limited to theoretical. At the gray zone, Max dredged up a 2010 memo authored by none other than Canvas founder Popovic that explicitly described a potential outage at that exact same dam as a watershed event, an unprecedented boon to overthrowing Venezuela. The intelligence assessment, which Popovich compiled for Stratfor, asserted that a hypothetical blackout in Venezuela would likely have the impact of galvanizing public unrest in a way that no opposition group could ever do. In the event his imaginary catastrophic vision came to fruition, Popovic advised Venezuelans' opposition to take advantage of the situation and spin it against Maduro and towards their needs. 9 years later, Venezuela's canvas-trained shadow regime had their chance to heed it. Light comes with the end of being usurped, Guaido tweeted within minutes of the March 2019 outage, oddly connecting the return of electric to the fall of Maduro's government. That's weird. No food, no medicine, now no power. Next, no Maduro. That's what Pompeo tweeted. Almost like it's a plan. By the time Venezuela finally managed to recuperate its electrical capacity, Maduro remained firmly in place. And it took them to get everything back on board till April. So literally, think about that. The electric went down at their airports. They had no way of keeping backup power to communicate with airplanes. These people are evil. Though Washington denied official responsibility for the blackout, Popovich enthusiastically detailed his personal coordination with the Caracas coup regime immediately following Guaido's self-declared presidency. This is a quote, "It is no secret that many representatives of the Venezuelan democratic movement are my friends, that we have known each other for years and have talked countless times about the political situation," unquote. Popovich told that to the Serbian media in February of 2019, describing Guaido as a high-quality, young, and educated man. Speaking to another media source, he added that he wished, in his words, my friend Juan Guaido success in his bid to unseat Maduro. Yet Canvas was not the only U.S. government initiative that took credit for molding the Venezuelan coup. Speaking with academics, Tim Gill, Gill, and Rebecca Hansen, a U.S. government contractor for USAID's Office of Transition Initiatives, we got these guys all covered, similarly boasted of having nurtured Guaido and his generation 2007. They have to brag about it. That's how they get caught. The anonymous source divulged that leading up to the 2007 campus protests, the U.S. had a very daring movement and brought a lot of money to the students through the Office of Transition Initiatives. According to the contractor, the US government most successful time was during 2007 when the student movement developed. Quote, I'm proud. It's like you see your son or daughter grow up, unquote, said the Office of Transition Initiative contractor, referring to Generation 2007. Quote, the potential leaders, when, if there is a change of government, and we were the ones that showed them the first steps, unquote. So for them, destroying a country and overthrowing a regime is the equivalent of giving birth. As far as the Trump administration and its allies were concerned, the change of government took place in January 2019 when they recognized Guaido as Venezuela's leader. Finally, an international media printed promising profiles introducing the world to Venezuela's new president, a generation of an imperial incubator baby directly cultivated by Washington, D.C. Now, technically, he's still not president because he didn't win an election, but, whatever. I'm going to go on for just a little bit. To consume corporate media from within Venezuela following Guaido's self-declared presidency was to experience life in a parallel reality. Though the US, Europe, and many Latin American allies had declared an end to Maduro's mandate, regardless of Washington's and London's official position on the matter, not one government ministry fell to Venezuela's opposition in the wake of Guaido's coup attempt. Venezuela's shadow government similarly failed to gain significant international legitimacy. In fact, as Western media painted the picture of an isolated and desperate Maduro, his government emerged at the forefront of a powerful bloc of nations that threatened to upend Washington. The reality was especially evident when Anya visited Venezuela on February 15th for an interview with the foreign minister, Jorge Ariza. When she arrived, there were several images of different diplomats hanging on the wall. And these individuals, according to the foreign ministry, was representative of Venezuela's historical past. While climbing the winding staircase that leads to the foreign minister's office, I got a sense that the international vision that drives Chavista foreign policy, the area not only displayed portraits of Venezuelan revolutionaries, but large photographs of international figures such as Nelson Mandela that had visited Caracas over the period of time. During the official visit to New York, the Cambridge-educated dignitary, Ariza, which is weird that they all go to the schools. I guess they just didn't cut the mustard there because they didn't get corrupted. Always made a point of meeting with anti-war groups and communicating his perspective of Venezuela and U.S. affairs. He was also known to request their insight into domestic policies, recognizing the country was far more complex than what is reported in the media. In addition to overseeing direct negotiations with Trump officials, Ariza led consequential delegations to Russia, China, and Europe in the aftermath of Guaido's imaginary ascent. In March of that year, he even embarked on a multi-city week-long tour of Africa. So much experience, wisdom, and advice for resisting the Western advances. A former university professor, Ariza, first joined Venezuela's government under Hugo Chavez, whose daughter he married. He would go on to act as the family's de facto spokesperson throughout the president's later years, delivering bedside updates to the press as Chavez's health declined. In 2013, Maduro selected him as his running mate, and basically he first served as vice president. During his trip, Anya said she first met him in Caracas. He had just returned from a week of talks with U.S. officials in New York City. During his trip, the diplomat had also announced the formation of a team of countries at the United Nations dedicated to reassuring the principles enshrined in the organization's sovereignty and democrat philosophy. It's really important, this group, because it's not about defending President Maduro or even Venezuela. This is about defending international law. It wasn't an initiative from Venezuela. It was a suggestion from many. Ariza went on to relate that while in New York, he attended the 40th anniversary celebration of Iran's revolution hosted by Tehran. Throughout the reception, several ambassadors in attendance expressed concern over the precedent of Washington in Venezuela. One of them said, "If we let this happen in Venezuela, who's next? You cannot," well, they've all been part of it. They were predecessors. "You cannot be a member of the UN and not respect the most basic principles of the UN," they said. Indeed, though the UN Charter included a special mechanism for imposing punitive financial measures on its member states, Washington had increasingly bypassed the debate phase of that and just did it unilaterally. On average, Trump issued more than twice as many unilateral sanctions per year than both of his predecessors. According to The Atlantic, the success of Washington's sanction strategy was not measured in international support for its policies, but the centrality of the U.S. financial system in the global economy, the dollar status in the world's dominant reserve. As a result, Washington's over-reliance on sanctions has ultimately blown back against the U.S. interest abroad. Though these measures successfully exacted suffering on populations of Venezuela and other foreign countries, there was a international blowback. Now, we've talked about this. Now, there's a school of thought out there that Trump is doing this purposely to push people off the US dollar and has behind the scenes been cooperating with BRIC to break the unilateral monstrosity that has been created by whoever leads the United States. That is a school of thought. There's a lot of people that believe that BRICS is going to bring about multipolarity and peace, and get people off the US dollar, and that at some point that's going to go away and we're going to go back to a silver or gold standard. That's a lot of conversation out there. I'm not going to express an opinion on it, but I just want to let you guys know that that is a line of thought as to whether or not getting people off the use of the dollar unilaterally is a good or bad thing. You guys can form your own opinion, read whatever you want to about that, but it's happening whether it's intended to or not. And that's what gave rise to BRICS in the first place, is people got tired of having their shit frozen because they pissed off the US. So a lot of countries are not parking their gold here. They're not buying real estate here. They're not parking assets here because they're tired of getting their crap stolen. So take that for whatever you want. Okay. Reason went on to say their relationship with Russia is fair and that it's transparent. Quote, all of our military equipment was originally from the States, but they blocked that and we have to defend ourselves. So we went to Russia. And again, that's what we've been talking about throughout this entire 3 years. We create the monsters. If you want us to believe Russia's an enemy, then why are you pushing people into the enemy camp? I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying it doesn't make any sense. Moscow is not the only friend Caracas gained in light of the sanctions. Turkey and Iran have emerged as reliable trading partners. Turkey, a NATO member, has become a top trading party for Venezuela. Turkish products like pasta and flour routinely appear in clap deliveries. Commercial ties between Venezuela and Iran have also reached new heights. Again, not a good thing. Why are we doing it? Iran stepped up to breathe new life into Venezuela's oil sector, which experienced a sharp decline after U.S. sanctions crafted by John Bolton barred Caracas from purchasing products and parts necessary to maintain their production. In May of 2022, Tehran signed a $100 million, whatever their denomination was, because it wasn't in dollars, contract to repair Venezuela's refinery and was reportedly preparing to revamp the country's largest refining plant. Iran's firm announced plans to restore Venezuela's electrical capacity to full power. In other words, a policy overseen by neocons of Bolton, Pompeo, and Elliott Abrams has served to push Venezuela into the camp of Iran and Russia. On top of the alliance on Russia, Ankara, and Tehran, Caracas has forged new ties with both India and China, where Washington halted the sale of Venezuela petro to U.S. markets. India, the third largest oil consumer, offset that loss by purchasing the crude through Russia's Rosneft company. China has also been economically engaged with Venezuela. According to Ariza, his quote-unquote group of friends initiative at the UN reflected a new world order. Born as a response to the decades of unchecked transatlantic supremacy, he described Caracas's new friendships as a non-aligned movement. Please don't tell the neocons that. That's one of their trigger words. Maduro's isolated, this was a news article headline from Reuters. Maduro isolated as Latin American nations back Venezuela opposition leader. Another one from Washington Post. Venezuela, Maduro. How long can an isolated strongman last? Another foreign minister, after she read those headlines to him, he says, I believe that the think tanks must be working 24 hours a day trying to understand what's happening in Venezuela because nothing that they have planned has happened. When I asked if he noticed a difference in the Trump and Obama administration, he hinted that Washington's recognition of Guaido had made his job easier, which is very interesting. This administration, he said, referring to Trump administration, they took the mask off and say exactly what they want out loud. And that leads actual credence to the people that have that thought that doing this stuff out loud instead of behind closed doors is demonstrating to America what we've been doing for the last 80 years. They're just doing it in public. And if we don't like it, then we didn't like it in the whole last 80 years either. So, something to think about. The diplomats continued. All of the interests that they have are clear. We want Venezuela's oil. We don't want an independent process and government in Venezuela. We hate socialism and we have to destroy the government. So, in a way, it's actually better that they're operating in the open, according to their foreign minister. So, the night before our interview, the AP reported that during Ariza's trip to New York, Abrams had personally threatened him with a U.S. military invasion. Did the foreign minister believe that a rapidly unpredicted administration would take that drastic step? His response: the threats of the U.S. government happen every hour now. It wasn't that threatening to us, was his response. Ariza returned to the UN in New York to denounce the U.S. military presence amassing on his country's border in Washington that was declared aid delivery. Tomorrow represents the last lashes of a prehistoric animal that's going into extinction, he said. Venezuela's foreign minister proclaimed on February 22nd, hours before the attempted U.S. invasion of his country was slated to take place. So that's the 2 chapters. We're going to stop there because wait till you hear about how that whole thing plays out. It's a freaking circus. They basically tried to do like an aid concert and all this crap. It literally turned it into a circus. It's crazy. But anyway, where did Bridget go? Bridget, why are they making all of these changes? And every single time, the exact same thing happens to you. What's up? What's up, SR?
Hello, Colonel, and thank everybody for attending Spaces and Rumble today. Really appreciate it. I'm really.
Go ahead and tell me you're blown away.
The threats come out. Yeah, we're going to invade you, but you're spot on where they are blatantly doing it, and you can see it, and you see what's happening, and you hear what's happening, and you understand what they're actually saying. And yeah, I don't agree with it. I'm sure a lot of people here don't agree with it. But given what's going on and seeing this happen and not being able to do anything about it is what gets me. That's how they feel. They think, well, you can't do anything about it, so I may as well tell you.
Well, see, I don't take it as that. I think it's an exposure operation. I think Trump has come in here and taken literally everything out of the closet. So they operate in the closet. The door's shut, there's padlocks on it. And all Trump has done is swing the doors wide open and said, okay, now do business. So he hires in John Bolton, he hires in Elliott Abrams and Mike Pompeo, and they go right back to doing what they were doing, regime change. Only the doors are open now. And everybody can see that they're doing it. It's not like we have to wait 30 years for some declassified shit. They're talking about it out loud. I mean, Bolton was on television going, yeah, I do regime changes. And I just think he's allowing them enough rope to hang themselves. That's my takeaway anyway. What's up, Bridget?
I did post in the pill or in our deal right up on OT TI and a write-up on Canvas if people are interested in knowing what's going on there.
Yeah,
and what
thank
they've
you.
been involved in, Colonel.
Yeah, Office of Transition Initiatives. We did a show way back. I mean, probably at the very beginning of the when we were talking about the Office of Public Safety in the Alpha Warrior series. We came across that one a long time ago, and it's so weird that we have all of this information of all of these organizations, like reading this book and reading about the Albert Einstein Institute. I mean, we outed them a long time ago. It's just so refreshing to know that we have all of this information. All of us have learned about all of these nefarious things. And so when these things come up in books, we can put all the pieces together. Because again, if we didn't know what the Office of Transition Initiative was, and we didn't know that it was basically the non-police version of the Office of Public Safety, that entry in the book would have went right over our heads. But we know, and we know what that means, and we knew immediately what the Albert Einstein Institute was, because we talked about that too, about how they do all of the foot soldier training, and they had the Green Beret guy and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. Gene Sharp is the guy that was running the Albert Einstein Institute. And he's a freaking lunatic. He is nothing but a regime change whore. Ron, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think you're onto something there about the bringing things into the open and letting the American people see what's going on. You know, there have been many things, and I'm not even going to try to name them off the top of my head, but there have been many things that have come out about what the Trump administration did, you know, between 17 and 21, and just things that he's done, you know, since January of this year. And a lot of things, people are like, "Oh, I don't like this. And it causes me to like fire back at them. Well, if you don't like it, then why did you like it when it was clandestine and you weren't paying attention to it? It's funny that all these things that are happening now. By the way, I'm not trying to take a side or go down this road. I'm not trying to defy you, rather. But I tend to agree with what the sentiment that you shared about BRICS is. I think that's important, and I think that I think Trump realizes that we have to fix the financial system in this country first, and our financial system is essentially the world financial system.
Yeah.
So until that gets fixed, there's really not any meaningful thing that's going to happen in this country. But,
well, the bottom line to that is, if he leaves everybody dependent on the U.S., whoever comes along afterwards won't have the wherewithal, collateral to push back against somebody if somebody nefarious ends up being there. So the tiff with Russia and them allowing themselves to financially separate themselves off of all of the dollar transactions, and what China has done and what India has done, and all of that, the whole ending of the petrodollar, getting all of that undone, which has occurred, will not allow someone, as this continues to get unwound, the ability to do what has been done in the past. It just is not as fast or as clean as most of us would like.
I agree with that, and I just want to make one final note that's not anything related to what you're saying today, but I am having a party tonight. I don't celebrate death, but the death of a neocon is a good thing for me. So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Cheers. SR, go ahead.
Thank you, Colonel. Quailgate, by the way, on that one, Ron.
Yeah.
But anyway, I agree with what's going on in the monetary system and what we're looking at today. What really stymied people, I think, more than anything else, is the CIA and everybody else, the international syndicate, got the playbook of, okay, we have the dollar, we have the financial system, we have this, we can make people do what we want them to do. We can put people in charge where we want to put them in charge.
Right.
And they thought the same thing with Russia. Oh, yeah, we can do that. We did it to all the little countries. Russia's no different. And they got a taste they didn't like.
Right.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah, absolutely. Lone Traveler, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I think the financial system is, the change is coming. The BRICS countries, the de-dollarization is on the move. And I'm pretty sure Trump is also behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve dollar is going to go bye-bye, and the gold and silver, what the Kennedy want, is going to come back. So everybody need to prepare for them. As for neocons, yes, absolutely. I love what Ron said, but I have to add one thing. I heard somebody said that the neocon who passed might turn into, somebody coming to this side. I don't know that's true or not. So when we do celebration, we have to keep that in mind. Some people might be on the good side. Who knows? I just want to add that to what Ron said.
Yeah, you mean that some people that we view as a neocon could really, in fact, not be one?
I remember in the beginning when the so-called white hat coming out, they actually said they want some bad people from the other side to come work with the good people, provided they didn't do any pedophile stuff, they didn't kill any kids,
right?
And then they can turn around. So I believe there's a lot of people actually turned around and working for Trump. I believe the neocon's daughter may be a good actress, and she probably put a good show,
Yeah, the only problem with that is because we're never going to have evidence of that until after the fact.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can watch people's actions, and that's kind of the moral of this whole story is as we experience this, it is critical that people learn discernment and form their own opinions based on actions and not words. And that's kind of one of the points that I like to drive home all the time. There's a lot of people that believe a lot of things that I don't, that I consider some of my very best friends. We don't have to agree on everything, but we do have to agree on facts.
Yeah, as long as what we want is the same. We want the peace, we want the prosperity,
Yeah,
we want the fairness and justice. If we keep in mind that's all we want, then between the games, whatever we believe probably won't matter that much.
exactly. Well said. Renee, go ahead.
Hey everyone. Carl, was wondering, this was in this chapter when they brought up how the power went down, and as I think a lot of us know here, they have those hydro-powered dams and, well, all over the world. Did we ever encounter that before in any of our stories with Operation Condor or
No.
any other? Yeah, that one, it stood out to me of,
but
weaponized.
Most of the ones that we've looked at has superseded the cyber warfare aspect of it, right? Because a lot of them are older ones.
Right. Well, it brought to mind, and I will put in the purple pill to share with everybody. And speaking of tying into what we're speaking about, the finances and the World Banks and whatnot, is the actual archives of the World Bank. If you're ever curious, I think I shared with you before, Colonel, the link. But the World Bank, which was a Rockefeller kind of thing and connected to the BIS and all that lovely international
Crime syndicate.
Yeah, etc. If you go digging, you have interest to go digging in their archives, and it's overwhelming. And I just tapped into it a little bit, but you can pretty much type in any country and pull up reports, documents, files.
So it would
copies of
be
pictures.
Yeah, it
And-
would be very interesting to go back and correlate like 1970 to 73 with Chile.
Absolutely. And you will see that there's a pattern
Yeah.
where they go in there and you see the plan for setting up the ports, for financing ports,
Yep.
railroads,
Yep.
big agriculture.
Does it name the names of the companies?
It depends, because I haven't figured out how to navigate it completely yet.
Okay.
But I only usually click on the images of documents of like photo. You can see old documents that there are pictures of in the files.
Yeah, because I was wondering, they loaned the money to these countries, like in the Congo after they killed Lumumba. They loaned them $10 billion. But I'm wondering if they actually just loan it to the country and then you've got to go to the country to find the companies.
I don't know. What it seems like is they go in there, like, for example, I've done mostly digging in Brazil. So they go in there and like the Rockefellers were in there in like the early 50s.
Yeah.
And they're meeting with bankers and political officials, military, stuff like that. And then they get them on board and make them all like, oh, it's for the better of your country and it'll prosper and blah, blah, blah. And then they get all their crap set up there with all the loans that they probably can't pay off, and then they do a rug pull or they coup or whatever.
Well, in
pattern all over the world.
In Brazil's case, they did that, but then Brazil elected someone that didn't want them there, and that's why they couped it in 1963, because that guy was not okay with the exploitation of Brazil, and that's what they did basically to Allende. They get in there and they get their hooks in, and then the people don't like it either because they're getting exploited, and they don't like the the elite that forms in collusion with the international companies, and they vote those people out of office, and then the CIA steps in for the syndicate and overthrows the nationalists that's basically kicking those companies out.
100%. And you will see also the pattern of setting up the hydro-powered dams everywhere as well.
That's interesting.
That's the whole part of the whole package. And also the universities.
So you just reminded me that they did set up the dam over in was it the Sierra Madre? Was that the name of it, Bridget, in the Congo area that was co-located on the WWF National Reserve?
I believe you were right.
I'm almost sure I am, because the whole thing was sold that the WWF was going to come in there and take over this Serengeti. That's where it was, Serengeti. That they were going to keep this national park that was eventually designated as UNESCO site, all natural. And then the bastards set up this hydro dam, and they had like this quote unquote eco-friendly that Khan number 4 guy, Khan the 4th, went in and created this safari like hotel that was supposed to be all green and everything, and you have this hydro plant there. So you're right, Renee, we did come across it one time there.
Yeah, it's amazing. I haven't done every country, but I'm pretty sure you can type in wherever you are in the world.
And you posted that in the Purple Pill?
I sure did. I put the link to the World Bank archives.
Okay.
And if someone's got a lot of time and can figure out how to navigate it, it's a wild ride, but it's incredible, overwhelming information.
Thank you. Ron, go ahead.
Me? Did you say me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to echo something that Lone Traveler talked about in terms of You know, I think there's a lot of people out there who have probably been compromised. You know, they unknowingly were compromised, and as a result, were used and were like just begging for a reason or trying to get out but couldn't because of the compromising information. And I think a lot of those people probably are clandestinely working with, you know, I call them white hats for lack of a better term. Because I think there's a lot of good people out there genuinely who probably made bad mistakes when they were either intoxicated or drugged.
Or were compromised without their knowing it.
Exactly. So, and I think there's a lot of that. And I think it bears repeating something that you talked about, I believe, yesterday, when you mentioned about how how Trump put in Abrams in there. It's like, why?
Well, Trump didn't do it technically. Bolton did, but go ahead.
But you understand,
yeah.
But by putting these people into positions of authority, we now have the ability to track and trace all of their communications.
Yeah.
And some of the people weren't in the chat yesterday, so and I think that's a very important point. And I also found it interesting what you talked about, and I'll end with this, is the color revolution with all the universities. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. I never pronounce your name right. Ryden?
That's close enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm told the proper pronunciation would be Reason, but
Reason?
I'm not Gaelic,
okay.
So I'm just culturally appropriating here.
Okay. That's allowed. I don't really care.
Okay. No, I just I'm trying to back away from this a little bit. I mean, I accept, you know, okay, yes, there was Gladio Playbook. Yes, they had word processors and Xerox machines, so they used it in a lot of places and a lot of times.
Yeah.
One of them. But I'm trying to get into motivations here. It's like, why are we going after Venezuela now? And I'm wondering, you know, you talk about the clandestine financial pipeline to the deep state or CIA or whoever's actually, you know, managing it. And is this an effort by the president to cut that off?
I view ultimately that is the purpose of it now. I think but you first have to expose it before you can cut it off.
Well, you're just giving them an advance warning then, you know.
So, and just so that you understand, you know, if you guys follow Ghost of Base Patrick Henry, which I highly encourage you guys to do, he actually thinks Maduro is a white hat, that he is actually working along with Trump. And as you could see from the foreign minister's comments, there may be an argument. I mean, there's not maybe. There is an argument to be made that that's exactly what's happening. And that's why you will see me. I don't care who says it. Because there are, and I don't like to use the word players, maybe operatives is the better word. Operators is the better word, that are putting information out there. And don't take this the wrong way, but I'm going to say this. General Flynn has posted several times about Maduro being nefarious. And I believe that we are graded, and I'm going to use that word. It's probably not the proper word. We're graded on the response to those posts of pushing back. When you know that they put information out, I believe they're looking for people to respond to those posts to see how far along we are. And when they put posts out that are blatantly not true, you have to push back when you have facts and data to push back on, because I think they're looking for that in order to move to the next thing. And if you don't respond to what you know to be blatant misinformation, then we're not ready. And we are being asked repeatedly to be digital soldiers and do our own homework. So when somebody in the administration puts out, just like, and I'll go something completely off the whole thing that we cover in the transportation. Secretary Duffy put out some, here's what I'm thinking we need to do. And the truckers went berserk saying, you can't do that because you're just going to be putting a band-aid on the real problem. And I mean, he was overwhelmed. And then he almost immediately goes, okay, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually address the problem. And I think that's what everyone needs to be doing in our space. Our space has to do, obviously, with international foreign policy and the CIA and regime change and all of that. That's kind of where we're at. But this administration, the same thing happened with, is her name Brooks in the Department of Agriculture, with the whole ranching and bringing in foreign meat. They literally they're very well organized. Meriwether Farms, all of those people, Beef Maps, they overwhelmed them and went, oh, look, we need to do labeling of beef from origins and not go along with what the USDA had been doing in the past that allows them to ship in foreign beef and have it processed here and then stick a US label on it. And that's working. And I think all of us, those of us who have the historical information that we've been presenting for now 3 years, need to do the same thing in this arena, because I'm definitely going to do it. They don't do it a lot. It's not like they're going out there and just blathering bullshit all the time. But I do believe that they are putting information out there that the expectation is, because it's not historically accurate, that we need to make sure they know we know.
They're trial balloons.
Almost, yeah.
They use expendable people to put out speculative ideas that may or may not be accepted and see how they fly.
Yeah, and we need to be on the front lines of that information war, lobbing back facts. And hopefully we've done a lot of work to give you guys all the facts. We just need to, and when it happens, if you guys, I'll write the response. I just need you guys to participate in tagging them repeatedly with the facts. That's how we win this war. Bridget, go ahead.
What you were talking about with Venezuela's Maduro, and goes to base Patrick Henry. One of the best parallels that I can give, and this is a hypothetical, okay, but if you remember during Trump's first administration, Little Rocket Man, how he was going to send us all to war.
Yeah.
And then when they showed up, it was obvious that they had history.
Yes.
More than what was being.
Yes. Yes.
Projected in the news. and so again, there's a reason why we elected him. I trust him.
Yep.
And but you're right. They can't gauge where we're at mentally.
Yes.
As far as an entire society. And the very easiest way to do it is on those posts.
Yes.
And with AI, it would be very easy for them to figure out, okay, are they ready to accept
Yes.
us dismantling this or
Yes.
dismantling that?
Yes.
If we're screaming at our top of our lungs,
Yes.
going, what do you mean?
Right.
Dismantling USAID.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Great point. Lone Traveler, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know exactly what's going on in Venezuela. I just know one thing. Trump wants to bring out the paper ballot. And Venezuela was involved in 2020 election fraud in a very big way. So they have all the information there. I'm wondering, why people do not make the connection that they are, doing all this to us. We're still using their voting machine to do the voting. And now we are fighting this war with a so-called war. Why do we still use a machine? So I'm wondering if this is just a psyop and just to put it on people, and then we're going to agree we should not use a Smartmatic voting machine.
But Lone Traveler, I think you probably missed the show, but I talked about this. That Smartmatic was not made in Venezuela. That is misinformation. Smartmatic was made in Miami, Florida, with Venezuelan expats that were brought here to, in my opinion, I don't have any factual evidence. Everything I just said is facts. The 3 people that were just indicted in Miami did not create Smartmatic in Venezuela. They created it in Miami, Florida. They just happened to be from Venezuela. There's a lot of expats, just like from Cuba. There was a lot of Cuban expats that were brought over here into the United States and used by the CIA, trained by the CIA to go do a whole bunch of evil shit. The expats that live in Miami that created Smartmatic did so inside the United States. It is used by multiple countries, and it is a capability that is easily corruptible. And the point that I agree with you on is if Venezuela used those voting machines, and I believe this is all going to come out, if they use that voting machine and it is corruptible, then and we're using our entire logic on Maduro was not democratically elected, then how was our president democratically elected? Because we use some in many states, like 20 some states, we use that same machine, to your point. So either our elections are corrupted, if Venezuelans are corrupted, but if ours, according to, all of the powers to be, were perfectly great in 2020, then how is Venezuela's not perfectly great? Right?
Yeah. There's one thing though. Where the server was located is very important as well.
Serbia.
So, yeah.
And what did we just talk about Serbia? We overthrew their government. That's where Milosevic was. That's where the revolution was. That's where the Albert Einstein Institute did their prototype color revolution. It's Serbia. So all of this stuff is connected. Go ahead. Did you have something else?
Yeah, just, I heard somebody saying that John Brennan owns a building that, had some server used in the election. I don't know which one, but there's so many stories from the past.
Yeah.
That Germany, Italy, multiple countries involved in different type of machine.
Yeah.
And those are not the Smartmatic machine, but it's all over the place. Yes.
Yes. Absolutely agree with that. Yeah, that's why all of these books, guys, are so important. We can go through an entire book. Probably some 20% of the book is going to confirm information that we already had, like Albert Einstein Institute, the whole mechanism that the CIA, USAID uses, and you're going to see that throughout the rest of this book. So that's definitely confirmation that we're on the right track. But then there's going to be some 10 or 15% of this book that adds new information. And I think that allows us to create a foundation of how this entire octopus operates. And just as we just did with the connection of, we now know that Smartmatic was not set up in Venezuela. It was set up by Venezuelans that lived in Miami. And as Lone Traveler talked about, the servers, which are an important part of it, was in Serbia. And what do we know about Serbia? Well, we know the CIA basically controls Serbia through the color revolution that they implemented there. And that's why understanding all of this information is so important to peeling back the onion of the operating environment that we're currently operating in. SR, go ahead.
Thank you, Colonel. I just want to say, I, for one, am very grateful where you started this process at. Because now that we're in current times, there is no question in my mind exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Those Gladio glasses are very important.
Very important. Thank you, Colonel.
Okay. So I do want to transition to what's going to go on over the next couple of days. I don't know what the schedule is going to be. I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to try to do, we are traveling in the morning over to Cocoa Beach. I will be attending the Great American Restoration Tour GART as part of Badlands. I'm just going as a participant. I'm like an observer. And so we're going over there in the morning. So I do think the 4 o'clock show tomorrow will be perfectly fine. Thursday is kind of iffy. It starts on Thursday. I don't know who's all going to be there or what's going on, but only Thursday evening. So Thursday should be perfectly fine as well. Alpha Warrior and I will do our 9:30 show tomorrow for the first time ever together in the same room, which should be a hoot. And Friday, I definitely will not be doing a show because that's the actual meeting presentation starts Friday morning. So we will not be doing a show on Friday. So that's kind of the tentative outline of our schedule. It does look like I will be able to do the show tomorrow and the show Thursday. No show on Friday. And you guys will not want to miss tomorrow evening show with Alpha Warrior because it's the first time we're going to be in the same room doing the show. So it should be lots of fun. SR, go ahead.
Thank you, Colonel. I did want to ask one question of you. In the conference you attended in D.C., one question that was floating around in my mind was there anything discussed in that conference about what you should push harder and what you should back off of?
No.
Thank you.
There was no conversation of backing off of anything. As a matter of fact, the conversation revolved around how important digital soldiers are on the battlefield of the information warfare that is currently going on. Lots of enthusiastic support about all of the independent media and how much we've done over the course of the last several years. Lots of encouragement. Everybody kind of, I don't want to say patting each other on the back, but that's kind of the way I would characterize it. There were so many big names there, like Laura Logan and James O'Keefe and those types of people who owned platforms, like the Parler CEO. I mean, a lot of really heavy hitters, moving the ball forward in providing venues for people who are in that arena to be able to continue their mission in a very, very supportive way. Like I said, my husband asked me not once, but twice, was it worth it? It was 1000% worth it. I've been, since going there, kind of rattling around in my brain where we could take all of our information to the next step. And I have a few ideas, but I have to talk to some of the people that were there that I met in order. I am never going to work for anything. I'm never going to. This is one of the things that is like a hard and fast rule for me. I'm sure you guys are aware that anytime you attach yourself to an entity, you immediately adopt the drama that comes along with it. And any entity that creates a sizable audience is a target. And I can't control the way other entities conduct themselves. So I will never compromise our information. I will go on any venue that I deem appropriate for our material. But I will never attach our material to another venue ever, because I cannot be controlled and I will not be controlled by anyone or anything. And so that's kind of my commitment to you guys. It's always going to be us against the world. And my expectation is you guys take our material and use that material in however way you see fit. I do see a lot of other people using our material and our research, and I don't care. That's the reason why everything that we do is free. Everything that we do is out there. We put ourselves out there every day. And I'm fine with all of that. My only vested interest in this entire journey is to get this information out to everyone. So, yeah, there is something though that I have kind of rattling around in the back of my head that I think would be a worthy venture to take our information kind of to the next step and make it more user friendly. And as soon as I'm able to articulate that in a meaningful way, I am going to ask for you guys' support, not monetarily per se, but technologically. But I have to figure it out, a way of presenting what I want to do in a better way than what I'm able to do right now. So that'll be something to stay tuned for. Go ahead, Lone Traveler.
Okay. Thank you so much for leading the fight in this war.
Yeah.
But my question is actually, going back to earlier about the servers. Have you looked into Gina Haspel? I remember, at that time, people are saying she was in Germany, one of the base, trying to refuse the special
right
force, to take those server. She actually was killed in the fight. We know that when that happened, at least we hear that. And 1 month later, they say, oh, she retired or she just resigned, 1 month later. So I'm pretty sure that story probably has something to do with that. I don't know if you looked into that or not.
So I have no confirmation of that. I did try to do some research into that. There's no way to confirm that. And anytime I run into that, I basically just kind of steer clear of it. If I can't confirm it, I'm not going to repeat it. That's kind of just has been my motto. There's a lot of information that gets posted that there's no way you can confirm. And if I can't confirm it, I'm not repeating it. So that's my take on that.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Go ahead, Reason.
You're talking to me.
Yeah. Whatever your name is.
I was hoping to take advantage of your encyclopedic knowledge of Gladio stuff. And I was just noticing the color revolution you mentioned in Serbia occurred in 2000. And Smartmatic started operating there in 2006. What happened in the intervening 6 years? I mean,
well,
how did they end up over there?
They had a server over there. I don't know that Serbia did not come up on the list of countries that were using Smartmatic for elections.
No, this was Dominion. I'm sorry.
Okay, Dominion's different than Smartmatic.
Right, they just got bought by someone halfway honest. It sounds like.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that either.
Yeah, really.
I think so. Is it someone that's not a full raging crazy person? Yes, but it would be like these people to try to assure us that we could continue using machines, which I'm diabolically against, by saying a quote unquote patriot bought it. So I don't buy it at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. If you didn't buy
You already
it
got
to
the
destroy
standard,
it,
why not keep it up?
yeah, if you didn't destroy, if you don't buy it to destroy it, that's what a patriot would do. A patriot would take that company, buy it, and destroy it. Like completely dismantle it. Do away with it completely. If that's not the case, then I don't trust whoever has it, because you cannot make those types of voting machines safe from cyber attacks. You just can't. That's where I'm at on that. And if I was the CIA and I wanted to compromise elections, I would have somebody buy it that people trusted.
You just touched off another point that I've kind of forgotten about for a while. Voluntary voting system guidelines. They actually went through a lot of research, consulted with NIST, came up with reasonable requirements for security for electronic voting systems. And then VVSG 2.0 has actually been implemented. However, all people who had 1.0 certifications, which was absolutely full of security holes you could drive a truck through, get grandfathered.
Yeah.
So anybody that had 1.0 certification still has certification
Yeah.
for their non-compliant machines.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how that happened.
Yeah. Because somebody
Of course,
nefarious is in the process.
Well, the EAC is heavily Democratic dominated, so I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Yeah. Thank you. Why?
Actually, if I may, I just want to add one thing you guys talked about. The domain was bought by the mega Republican. He actually it's called the Liberty Vote.
I know. I still don't trust him.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. But again, that's what I would do if I was the CIA. I would name a company Liberty, just like the what was the name? I'm reading another book, and that's the name of the organization they set up, and they were completely nefarious, like the Institute of Peace. That's what these.
Office of Public Safety.
Yes, that's what these bastards do. They cloak themselves in all of the names that we love and we associate with goodness, and they're nefarious. So had they picked any other name, I might have been more open to it. But as soon as I was like, oh shit, Liberty, are you kidding me? Because I'm now jaded in everything after spending 3 years immersed in this and knowing how they operate. I would hire or I would get someone to buy something that I wanted to keep alive. I would stick a name like Liberty on it. And we know that Trump wants paper ballots. So get the hell out. And this is the guy that was currently doing poll books, which are so compromised they're not even funny. That's the one that was doing all of the nefarious shit. Again, I'm not an expert in the election thing. It's not my area of expertise, but I was on a call several calls that was about election integrity in the state of Florida. And those poll books are completely screwed up. So yeah, I'm not okay with it. Why are you so mean? Go ahead. And then we'll go to Ron.
All right. Well, I just want to give you so much appreciation and props, Colonel, and you and Bridget, and you guys are going to be going down in history for what you guys have done. It's been amazing work. It's been so helpful. I can't appreciate how much effort and how much time you have taken to secure our future in this country, in the U.S., and the world in general. I really can't express how much deep felt love I have for you guys. You guys have done amazing work. I have one question about, I know you're not an expert and you just said that about the voting machines. I look at Estonia and I look at the idea of voting through computer using biometrics. What would you think of that kind of idea?
No, I want paper ballots. I want to go show my ID. I want a paper ballot. I want to mark it. I want it held up and I want to say, I voted for the guys, we used to do this and we had it all done by 11 o'clock every night. Technology does not have to be part of every fucking part of our, sorry, I'm not doing this at you, but it doesn't have to be part of every part of our life. We did this during the middle of wars.
Dip our fingers in ink.
No, I don't care about the fingers. Yeah. No, I don't care about the ink thing. We did this for, the better part of 200 years, over 200 years.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
We did it in the middle of wars. We know how to do this. Not everything lends itself to a machine. So
very much so, right.
Yeah,
I appreciate your honesty about that.
Yeah, I just want paper ballots. I want precincts designed so that they can accommodate 11 p.m. With maybe a few exceptions, and that stops everything you're seeing today. Go on X and look at everything you're seeing. Oh my God, they ran out of ballots here. Oh my God, they did this. Oh my God, these machines went down here. It's garbage. It's third world garbage.
All right, so we need to make it a national holiday so everybody has a day off then.
Well, you know what? I would be supportive of that, but I don't even give a shit about that. If you don't care more about your country than getting your ass out of bed early and getting yourself to a polling booth or staying there after work because they're open late at night. I spent a lot of elections in, I spent at least one deployed, and I was still able to get the absentee thing, which for those of you who don't know in the military, that's a pain in the ass. Voting in elections when you're halfway around the world, but you can do it. You have to be, you have to ask for your ballots ahead of time. There's officers assigned to every base to go around and counsel every single person. Did you vote? Here's how you do it. The voting officer. Oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I was a voting officer. And then to come home and listen to people bitch and see how effed up our elections are. It's so frustrating to me. But anyway, Ron, go ahead.
Absolutely right. Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, you want to talk about frustration? In California, California has more gun owners than any state in the union, obviously, because there's more freaking people here. But do you know the percentage of gun owners that vote in the elections? It's only 25%. Imagine if those people came out and actually voted. So to that point, I'm right there with you. It's infuriating to me that people don't have enough sense to vote or to take the time to participate in their civic responsibility. The question that I had was really more of an administrative one. You were up there with Parler, and I was curious: is Parler going to try to do something similar to like the spaces? Or
yes, yes, they have actually. I talked about that. Hold on just a second. Let me find it. They have a thing that is called Play TV. Play TV is going to be basically their version of a Rumble type thing. I don't know if it's going to have interactive voice like a space, but Play TV is, they talked about it. I've not done any research on it. That allows you from day one, the first time you put a video up, to be paid for it. They have a separate pay system. It's not Stripe. It's not any of the ones. It's their own. They own it. They own the technology. It's on their own crowd. You can never be cut off from it, called Kivo. And they've literally created an entire environment to operate in that's free from any nefarious outside influences. They own their own cloud now. They basically took all of the lessons learned of Parler 1.0, corrected all of them. They don't rely on Amazon cloud that they can be cut off. They don't rely on an outside pay mechanism that they can be cut off, because all of that happened to them. They don't rely on any of that stuff. And so they are their own entity. And when I have a few minutes, we're going to figure out how to exploit that as well, or use that. Exploit, probably not the better word, but to get our content over there.
I knew what you meant. I've already, I mean, I signed up, when they came out a long time ago. So
no, you have to re-sign out. It's completely new.
I've already taken care of it.
Yeah.
I've already talked to their customer service, and I've got my usernames and everything. And so I'm good to go. So anyway, thank you for that.
Sure. Lone Traveler, go ahead. And then I got to run, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I just want to say, Ron, I'm one guilty of that, of not voting. The reason is the game is rigged. That's the reason why I stopped voting in 2006. I hope they will fix this thing and they'll have fair voting for everyone.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Ron,
listen, I
Ron, let him finish.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know what you mean, Ron. I really understand that. It just again was so rigged, especially in California. Basically, they will tell you the number of people that count the ballot. So it had been like this forever. That's one thing. And the irony about what we said, maybe we should name the voting machine as a Stalin. So maybe we'll trust the Stalin voting machine. And then the number one, the thing is that Patriot Act is actually Unpatriot Act.
Yes.
So all the things going on, it's absolutely amazing,
Yeah.
I forgot another thing, but anyway, I just stopped here.
Yeah.
My apologies. Lone Traveler and I are friends outside of here. So
okay. We like to have an orderly space. Go ahead, Ron.
Understood. My apologies.
Sure. As a matter of fact, just so that you guys know, that is probably the number one compliment that I get when I talk to people, is that our space is orderly and everybody gets to talk and everybody gets respected when they talk. Have I dumped a few people that are totally over the top crazy? Yes. But that is the number one comment that we get about people coming to our space, because they don't have to. That is my number one complaint about going in other people's space, is they do not allow people to have conversations. They talk over each other. And as soon as that happens, I leave the space. I will not participate in a space that is stupid. I appreciate everybody that comes in here and how everybody respects everybody else and doesn't talk over each other. That is one of the things that I think is very awesome about our spaces. Lone Traveler, go ahead.
Yeah, just have one thing to add. Thank you so much for everything you have done. Like I said earlier, I just want to remind everybody, we get to this point, there already have many, many, many heroes.
Yep.
Died for us. They sacrificed for us.
Yep.
A lot of information soldier, warrior, we really haven't done as much as them. So I want to pay the respect to all those people.
Thank you.
Pay the obvious.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many people that had normal everyday lives that did not envision themselves being where they are today, that are here fighting a fight to save our country. Obviously, I made that commitment a long time ago. I definitely didn't see myself doing this in retirement. But it was something I signed up for a long time. A lot of the people that are here didn't sign up for any of this. And they have taken upon themselves, and they are true heroes in this fight, and have done yeoman's work of uncovering information and being so supportive of those of us. Somebody needs to turn their mic off. So supportive of the people that have been in this fight. I mean, Stellar's a great example of that. Trump Frog's a great example of that. If it had not been for Trump Frog, I wouldn't be here today. I literally owe him everything, giving me a forum, because that's how Alpha found me, was on the Trump Frog show. So many people have risked being that wanted to remain anonymous, that got doxxed or whatever, and their life turned upside down. They are true patriots and heroes in this entire fight, and my hat's off to every single one of them. I stepped up to be a controversial, you can't be a colonel without being controversial, in my opinion, but a lot of people didn't. And a lot of people weren't prepared. They didn't have the training that I had. I can't say enough about them. Ron, go ahead. Then I've really got to go.
I know you need to go, and but I did want to respond real quick to the lone traveler comment about not voting because the system is rigged, and I completely understand that. But kind of like what we had to do in 2024, we have to oversaturate, and regardless of whether you think your vote counts or not, you still need to get out there and vote, and do not allow anybody to persuade you not to, and that's all I wanted to say.
Sure,
you can't do that. So Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say a lot of people died to give you the right to vote. And I think it's, and this is my personal opinion. I felt this after I retired. And I've told you guys this story. I spent the first year completely disoriented because I realized once I came home and started looking around, my entire fucking country was being destroyed in 2008. And I'm like, what the hell have you guys been doing? There's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of military people around the world willing to die for your right to vote. And you guys have not gotten out to vote. And the people, you didn't do your research on some of the people that you voted for, not that you had lots of choices, but I was bitter. I was very, very bitter that first year after I retired. It didn't help that I was watching all the chalkboards on Glenn Beck's Fox show and realizing that our entire government and community through what was that one program, Acorn, had been just infiltrated, everything. And I was like, holy shit, where is everybody that's supposed to be rising up and confronting this? And the whole border thing, it was just very disorienting for me. I'm over that. I'm back down on earth and realized that a lot of people either didn't know what was going on, but I highly encourage, just because of the sacrifice that people have made to get out and vote. I just don't see there's any reason why not to. And I have no concrete evidence of this. There's a lot of people that talk about it, that when the good guys have control, there are ways to stop the electronic interference in our voting process. And I believe that happened 100% in 2024. And that's why we are where we are and why we have a chance to save our country. It is a direct correlation to the people that did get out and vote. So I highly encourage everybody to do that. Okay. But I want to vote with paper ballots. I want to go back to the old way of doing business that cannot be corrupted. Anyway. Okay, so I'll be back here from Cocoa Beach tomorrow, and we'll have our 4:00 show. And you guys watch for the Man in America video that's coming out tonight. We recorded it earlier today. Really love that guy. So if you guys are not following him, please follow. He puts out lots of good content and talks to a lot of very interesting people. So take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Thank you all for being here on Rumble. Appreciate that. And I will see you tomorrow.